Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, welcome back to the Baseball Head 2, and hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So I'm going to go through a list of players, and I went through this list the other day on my own, and I'm going to reveal it, and it's a lot of players that are going to be free agents. I'm going to tell you what the teams that are going to be rumored. This is very early, we're still in the playoffs, just the beginning of the playoffs. And we're going to go through this list, and it's all written out for myself to go through, and it's a lot of names, a lot of trade candidates, very much a Mets-centric kind of list. Last year was Mets-centric because the top player on last year's free agent market went to the Mets. That's Juan Soto. And this is a list that is the pitching market on this, with this list is much stronger than it was last year. We have better pitchers, better starting pitchers on this list than they had last year. Last year they had a lot of guys at the high end, but they got hurt. They've had sort of histories of being injured, particularly Blake Snell. And of course everyone knows about Corbin Burns getting hurt. But there is quite an interesting list of players on my list. And this is just the beginning of the off. We haven't even gotten to the off season yet, but this is as you know, last day of the season, which is after the final game of the World Series. Players will declare their free agency and become free agents. Very different than years ago. But here we go. First up, Kyle Tucker, playing with the Cubs. We got a list of teams here: the Cubs, the Yankees, the Mets, the Mariners, the Dodgers, and San Francisco. Alonso. I think that he'll probably stay with the Mets because really they're going to need somebody to be in the middle of this lineup. Even though this team needs to make changes, they'll make changes probably elsewhere, and the market is not very good. So he's going to get a better contract than he did last year, and he had an MVP type year, to be honest with you. Next on the list, Edwin Diaz. I don't have a list of teams with him, because I think he's going to resign with the Mets. I think he'll get the free agency. Unlike the last time he didn't reach free agency. He signed with the Mets before free agency began. But I believe he will hit the market, but I think he'll come back. Dylan Cease, Zach Gallen, Framber Valdez. All three guys here should be connected to the Mets, as well as Framber Valdez. Framber Valdez will have the Yankees on him too. We'll get a whole bunch of teams, probably the Dodgers and a whole bunch of teams. Seattle, the Blue Jays. Let me put that down. So Seattle and the Blue Jays could be other teams as I brainstorm as we do this video. But Bo Bichette, we haven't heard much about him. They haven't had their playoff run yet. But I would put the Mets on this. I know you're going to say, and the Dodgers. Cody Bellinger. There's a lot of talk the Mets were going to sign him last year. Keep an eye on him. I mean, they were going to trade for him last year. Keep an eye on him. Ranger Suarez, I don't have a team attached to him. Kyle Schwarber. Better than 50-50 chance he signs with the Phillies. But the Mets should make a move on him. The Yankees should make a move on him. The Cubs could certainly use his bat in their lineup. I'll put the Tigers there as well. This is a guy that lives the postseason. Probably a future Hall of Famer and one of the big power hitters in the game. Keep an eye on him where he goes next this off season, especially after the Phillies season ends. Muntaki, let me get this name right. Muntaka Murakami. He is basically the Babe Ruth of Japan. He broke the all-time home run record in Japan a few years ago. And he's a second baseman, first baseman. I've heard the Mets, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Phillies. I'll put the Mariners there. Why not? Because they all like those Japanese players. But that is a guy, and he's a big power hitter. He has not been healthy in Japan this year. He's been sort of kind of injured a little bit. But that's a guy who's probably going to hit the market if he gets posted. And I believe he'll get posted. This is not like a free agency. And I believe he's 25, 26 years old. So he's not even his prime yet. Francisco Lindor. I know what you're saying. Why would the Mets trade him? Well, the way they finished their season, their collapse, they should consider doing that. And I have one team attached to him because I think it makes sense, is the Dodgers. Maybe the Mets eat some of that money, but we'll see. That is something that the Mets should explore. It probably won't happen, but they need to explore it to see if they can improve this team. Up next, Jeff McNeil. Jeff McNeil is going to get moved. I will put Seattle there on this list of teams because the fact of the matter is they've always liked McNeil. So that's a team you can keep an eye on with Jeff McNeil. And McNeil, I think, will be the guy of all the players that the Mets have in that clubhouse. One of the veteran players that's been here a long time. He'll be the one that will definitely go. He's going to go. He's going to get traded. There's no doubt in my mind. Next up, Brandon Nimmo. I didn't have a team till just now. We had the Toronto Blue Jays. They liked him a few years ago. Mets should shop him as well to change the personality of this team. He's a great guy. Great American story, but they need to look elsewhere. David Peterson. He's got 1 year left on his contract. Is he a guy you want to sign long term? If he has a big full season next year, you want to sign him to a 5-year deal? I wouldn't do that. He's been very inconsistent in his career, unless the Mets, of course, bring in a new pitching coach. Next up, Sandy Alcantara. Now the Marlins had a good year. Obviously, I guess they won 79 games. They beat the Mets. They might not be willing to move Alcantara, but he doesn't make a lot of money. There can be tons of teams on him. The Mets, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mariners. I mean, all the teams that have very good farm system. The Cubs. Those are guys to keep an eye on. Joe Ryan. I understand the former general manager of the New York Mets, Jim Duquette, mentioned Joe Ryan. Maybe the Mets there. Maybe Logan Gilbert with the Mets. Those would be trades. Merrill Kelly is a free agent, I believe, with Toronto. Now we're going to run through a bunch of names here for you that don't have any teams attached. Although Alex Bregman has Boston, I will put the Mets on that list because the Mets could use a third base, and they have to figure out what they want to do with Brett Beatty and the other infielders they have. We have Chris Bassett. We'll see where he goes. Mike Conforto. Michael, you should have taken that deal with the Mets before 2021. Basically, his career is all screwed up. It's not the player that he was, but he's going to be a free agent. Lucas Giolito, Trent Grissom. The Mets will be attached to him, but I wouldn't touch him. He had a career year with the Yankees. Rhys Hoskins, I don't really particularly like him for the Mets. He'll sign someplace. Maybe go back to Philly. Who knows? Michael King's been injured most of the season. Nick Martinez, Emilio Pagan. We'll see where he goes. Maybe he signs with a team. Jorge Polanco. Catcher J.D. Realmuto. He signed a big contract a few years ago. Maybe he returns to the Phillies, but we'll keep an eye on that. He's a player now that he's on the other side of his prime, and he has not been playing as much as he had the last few years. Robert Suarez will be a free agent. He will go because they'll put Mason Miller there in San Diego. Gleyber Torres. I'll put Detroit. Maybe they'd re-sign him. He had a 1-year deal with them. Eugenio Suarez. I'll get his name straight. He's a big third baseman. I don't have a team attached to him yet, but I'm sure the teams will pop up. I don't think the Mets will be there. Josh Naylor. He had a good year for the Diamondbacks, but interesting to see where he goes. Luis Ariz. Guess he's with the Padres. We'll see where he goes. He'll probably be on a new team next year. He gets a lot of base hits. He's got no power. He's not a very good base runner. Not fast. He is a guy that doesn't really offer a lot other than high batting average. But he's Tony Gwynn. Brandon Woodruff. He's going to be a free agent, but I believe he will stay in Milwaukee for next year. And finally on this list is a player that had played really poorly and was injured a lot for Boston. That's Trevor Story. He's a guy that has been sort of a missing player, and I would think that he's had a good year. Be interesting to see how he, what kind of attention he'll get in the offseason if we get any kind of offers. But I can see the Dodgers. I mean, the Dodgers don't need to do a whole hell of a lot of things. The big thing the Dodgers have to do is improve their pitching for next season. But that's a guy to keep an eye on as well for the Dodgers. But this is an early version, a very early pre off season list for you as we are in the postseason. And of course, I'll run through these teams and these players again, and there'll be more teams attached to these players as I get more information. And of course, then there's all information I get online, and just sort of my own thoughts on it too. So, thank you for watching this video. Of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut 2. The Dark Hut off season has begun.